was standing on a hill, waving my shawl at you. My goodness, come back over here. Come over here, Chungshi, my daughter. This is the place that I was telling you about. You know, when I was your age, my Ina, my mother, brought me to the same exact place to show me how to dig timsila. And I was thinking that when maybe you grow up and have a daughter, you will bring her here too. Did you bring the wasna that you and Unchi made? Let me look at it. Hey, that wasna is really good. Lila washte. You know, Unchi told me what a hard worker you are, and it makes me proud. That's why she gave you her mother's name, Nape Washte Wia, because she knew you were going to be a hard worker like her mother was. My name? Well, my Ina, my mother told me that when I was born, we were moving camp. And they got near a creek, and so she thought she'd go down to the creek because she was in so much pain. And she got down by the creek and she closed her eyes. And when she opened them up, there was all these commemorate, all these butterflies flying around. Intrigued by them, she ended up forgetting about her pain, and then I came into the world. And so to honor the commemorate nation, the butterfly nation, she gave me the name commemorate. Makes me so proud. So what we're going to do today, Chungshi, is we're going to take a little bit of the wasna that you bring, and we're going to offer it to Mother Earth for thanking her for giving us the timsla for our food supply. And then we're going to dig the plant up, take the root out, and put the plant back up. Isn't this a beautiful place? This is our home and will be our home forever.
Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play, and where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. I just can't get that song out of my head. Oh, Stephen, this is Dakota territory. Oh, what a beautiful land. It's so wild and free, and a body can see for miles. And there's not another person in sight. Oh, Stephen. Oh, children. Stephen Curtis Jr., don't you dare pull your sister's hair. Come out here. I want to show you. Look. Over there, in that grove of trees, do you see them? It's a mama deer and her baby. And we've seen eagles flying overhead, and we've seen herds of antelope and buffalo. You know, I read that when the buffalo cross a really deep river, that the baby buffalo actually ride on their mama's backs. Oh, I'm sure that Dr. Brewster Higley had this place in mind when he penned those words. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, and where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Oh my, I wonder if that means it never rains here. Ah, watch out, it's a snake!
at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. One of these mornings so bright and fair, thank God Almighty, we're free at last. I'm gonna spread my wings and try the air. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. We come from a land from across the sea. We come to a land that was supposed to be free. We worked and toiled for the master's will. We worked for free while the master filled his till. But now we're free, free to go to school. Yes, we're free, free to earn a wage. Yes, Lord, we're free, free to get our 40 acres and a mule. We come from a land of pestilence. We come from a land of no can do. We're on our way to health and wealth. We're on our way to you can too. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. Woo!
Chungshi, I was just talking to your ate, your father, and your Lala Sitting Bull. And Lala says now it's time for us to move up to grandmother's land, Canada. He has talked to our relatives up there and they are welcoming us. Your father and I talked about it and we agreed that we're going to go. You know, ever since the Washichus have been coming, they've been killing off the buffalo for no good reason. And he does not want to go to the land that the Washichus want us to go to. Do you remember last week when Ate and Lala went there? Lala doesn't like what he sees. He sees all of our young people drinking firewater and fighting with each other. And he sees all the Washichus, the white people, treating them with disrespect. And he does not want that to happen to us, his loved ones. And also because of the Battle of Greasy Grass, he feels things are being very dangerous. So tonight we're going to pack. So you go around and tell all your friends and relatives that are going to go to the reservation goodbye. Say goodbye to this beautiful land, for we may never see it again. Remember, Chungshu, we must do this to live.
But you're awfully quiet tonight, Stephen. What's wrong? Our cattle? But why on earth would the Indians want to steal our cattle? We've never done anything to them. For food? But why? I thought the government was giving them all they need. Oh, you know, that does remind me, though. I heard about a rider over on the White River who was looking for missing cattle. And I also heard that hostile Indians killed Isaac Miller and burned his house and barn to the ground. And you remember how we heard last week about how Custer and his troops up on the Little Bighorn were attacked by hostile Indians? You know, I heard those savages killed every single one of them. What's gotten into these crazy Indians anyway? Don't they remember what they agreed to when they signed that Fort Laramie Treaty? They're supposed to be farming and making a living like us decent folks. Yes, I'm sure you're right about that. I mean, after all, it will take a while for that idea to catch on. They've never done anything except move from place to place and chase buffalo. And, oh, Stephen, we both know that farming is such hard work. Just look at my poor hands. Well, say, is there any good news in that Rapid City paper you're reading? 50 15,000 miners now prospecting in the Black Hills? Land sakes alive. That does make a body wonder if finding gold in the Black Hills was a good thing, doesn't it? And why do you suppose the Indians are so reluctant to give up the Black Hills anyway? I mean, after all, now that the government's giving them everything, they really have no need for gold. Sacred? The Black Hills? Huh. You know what? I could use a little bit of that gold. I know. I could start a roadhouse right here. I know. I could get Lucy Lone Eagle to help me. Well, yes, you remember her. She's that Indian girl that's been going to our church. You know, she's been asking a lot of questions about Jesus. Yeah, that's what I can do. I can get Lucy to help me. Teach her all about this Bible and maybe buy some safety from those redskin hostiles.
My man Cicero, he a buffalo soldier, soldier. Join Ninth Cavalry to keep the peace, soldiering night and day. Soldiering through the night, soldiering through the day. I bet my money on a buffalo, somebody bet on the plains. The mail's in. I got a letter from my intended. My man Cicero is a buffalo soldier. I pine for him daily. Being separated is so hard. Here's his letter. You want to hear? Dear Maddie Elmira, we was through Cheyenne for a stint at Fort D.A. Russell. I was reading in the Daily Leader and come past this poem that remind me about us. But we can't be together until I muster out. Sergeant Smith always say, if the army wanted you to have a wife, they would have issued you a wife. I may never get married. Dakota Territory is free for everybody to come to. They can file claims or own property. That's the reason they come in droves to Dakota Territory. I hope you can come out real soon. The land is plentiful and good for ranching and farming. We got a new preacher in who told us we need to be a vessel for God for learning all you can. We sits up nights ciphering and reading so's we can make rank. The more you know, the farther you go. I hears taps and reveille, I think that's the roll call, will sound before I knows it. Faithfully yours, Cicero.
Today, an Indian boy it's so good to see you. And you bring my Takoja to visit with me. Look, I was just working on a pair of moccasins for him, and I was thinking about the naming ceremony and the name Lala gave to my Takoja. How did that story go? Lala said his uncle was out riding horses in Blackfoot country. And he was thinking about stealing some Blackfoot horses when he was spotted by some Blackfoot warriors. So he jumped on his horse and he took off. And the Blackfoot warriors, they jumped on their horse and followed him. After a while, the uncle got off and he was shooting arrows at them. And they got off and started shooting arrows back at the uncle. Well, the uncle had to do that 4 times before he was able to get away. And when he got back to camp and he told his story at the next ceremony, they gave him the name Dismounts 4 times for his bravery. And now they gave that to my Takoja. So he'll be courageous too. Makes me so proud. I'm glad you came by here, Chungshi. You know, we've been up here in grandmother's land for 5 winters now, and a lot has happened. You're married, and I have great respect for your husband, for he's a great hunter and a good provider. But you know, even up here in grandmother's land, hunting is scarce. Lala said it's time to go back to our homeland. Your father and I talked about it, and we agreed that we were going to go with Lala. Lala said when we get back to our homeland, things are going to be different. First of all, he said the Washichus made a law called the Dolls Act. And the white people told him that they made it for the betterment of our people, but he thinks that they made it to break up the strength of our family. Because of that, when we get back to our homeland, we won't have a choice of where we're going to live. The Indian agent will tell us where we're going to live, and our Tioshpae will be split up, and our teepee circles will be split up. We'll be living like the Washichus. So Lala said, wherever they put us, we must create hunka, make relatives of our neighbors and the people around us. Chungshi, I hope you decide to come, but it's your decision. But we must remain strong.
Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God hath done. Olivia, dinner's almost ready and we can see the cooks coming down the road. Do your grandma a favor and go help your Aunt Effie set the table. How I wish my parents could be here. I miss them both so much. But even so, I do have much to be grateful for. Oh, land sakes alive, I have family right here. Plenty of good food to eat and wonderful friends to share it with. Hello, hello, and happy Thanksgiving. Do come in. Oh, Emma cooked 2 mincemeat pies. You are a peach. Effie made some apple pie and Carrie made some pumpkin pie and Lucy made a dish out of choke cherries that she calls wojapi. It goes great with scones. I'm teaching her how to make scones out of the flour her family gets from government issue. Curtis and Amanda, before we eat, would you please take this food over to Cicero and the other Buffalo soldiers out there by the gate? Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Now, before Papa Stephen says grace, I'd like for each one of you to tell at least one thing you're thankful for. Ashlyn, you're the youngest, so you can go first. Yes, Ashlyn, we're all thankful that you're not a turkey too. Oh, children, I'm so proud of you. You're all thankful for your families, for Sunday school, and for the fact that the Indians haven't lifted your hair yet. You know, children, Jesus loves you all very much. Oh, yes, Ashlyn, yes, he loves the little Indian children too. Oh, why, of course, Olivia, he loves them as much as he loves the little white children. Do you remember that new song that you just learned in primary about, let's see, how did it go? Something about, Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world, red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in his sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. You know, children, the red children are the Indian children. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God hath done. Oh my, what a wonderful day this has been. And so much to be grateful for. And now with the Dawes Act in effect, President Cleveland is going to give up to 160 acres of free land to all Indian families. I wonder if they have absolutely any idea how much they have to be grateful for too. Oh my, a full moon. And just look at those beautiful stars. How often at night, when the heavens are bright, with the lights of the glittering stars, have I stood here amazed and asked as I gazed if their glory exceeds that of ours.
Soon I will be done with the troubles of this world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of this world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of this world. Goodbye, Uncle Biggin. You's free now. No more worries, no more strife. He's going to live with God. Sowing in the morning, sowing seeds of kindness, sowing in the noontime and the dewy eve, waiting for the harvest and the time of reaping. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. Estelle, I am so glad my sister's here. I just finished a letter to Cicero, and I wanted to post it before noon. And I just put on a batch of pan bread, and I was wondering if you would take the letter with you when you go to town. No, you cannot read my letter. Well, if you wanted to practice your reading, you could read the Bible just like I do. Well, I guess since you my sister, I can read some of it to you, but I ain't gonna read it all to you, because some of it's personal. Dear Cicero, I am learning to read better and better. I go to church almost every night after work to learn my lessons.
Of course, on Wednesday night, we have prayer service. Afterward, we try to get at least an hour of lessons in. Last week, we got a flyer from Sully County near Pierre. Isn't that part of the territory you patrol? The flyer said Sully County is booming land and people could get a homestead, as much land as 160 acres apiece. Papa was thinking about bringing the family and each of us getting our own parcel. You could get 160 acres, and since we're not married, I get my 160 acres next to yours. Then we each build a shack with a wall in the middle of our property line. When we prove up and register our homesteads, we get married and tear down the walls between our two shacks and make it our home. Can't read that. No, I won't read that. Oh, I can read this part here. Mama and Papa are doing well, but people are dropping like flies, and we have one funeral after another. Uncle Biggin died of yellow fever, and we buried him last Saturday. He died a happy man, didn't suffer long, and he tasted the sweet tree of freedom, but he never made it to Dakota Territory. My sister Rosier is working hard so she can become an instructress. She wants to teach our people. She says people can take away your home, they can take away your money, but they can never take away your knowledge. So study hard and learn all you can. And Estelle, that goes for you too. Oh, speaking of home, people told us we need to go back to Africa. We tell them Africa isn't our home. We was born right here and never lived in Africa, so how could that be our home? Well, if you hurry, you can make it before noon.
Chungshi, it's so good to see you. And you bring my Takoja. My, he's growing fast. Well, come on here. Come on in here and get yourself some food for your family. I have some wahampis, some soup here, and I have some fried bread. Do you know about fried bread? Do you remember that white stuff we got from the US government? And we didn't know what to do with it, and we mixed it with water, and we just couldn't get it to taste good. Well, finally, we just dumped it out and we made dresses out of the bags. Well, Lucy, my cousin, is working for a Washichu lady, and she taught her how to make fried bread and gabubu bread, or biscuits. I could show you while you're here. I'm so glad you came. Lala's heart's been on the ground. Well, let me tell you about some sadness. Do you remember Chungshi, that place I took you to, where I taught you how to dig timsala? Well, me and my Hunka sisters, we went there, and we were digging timsala, and we were having such a good time, and all of a sudden this Washichu man came, and he told us that this was his land now, and that if we didn't leave, he would report us and we would have to pay a fine. So we left, and I got back and I told Lala about it. And he got so upset that he decided that he was going to go to the meeting that he wasn't invited to. He said the hi-hats came from Washington to talk about making peace, but really, he said they'd come to take more of our land. So we all went to the meeting, and Lala got up there and he told the hi-hats what happened to us. And he said, how could you find them when you haven't even paid for the land that you've taken? He told them that they need to pay us with farming implements and horses so we can live our life in a dignified manner. He told the hi-hats to come to look on the reservation and see how poorly dressed we are and starving now that the buffalo is gone. I thought Lala gave a really good speech. When he got finished talking, the hi-hat that was running the meeting, he stood up and he pointed at Lala and he said, shut up and sit down.
Dear Mama, I got your most welcome letter, but was so sad to hear of Daddy's lingering illness. I miss you both so much and wish I could be there with you, especially now. Carrie and her family are doing well, and the girls are growing like weeds. The new baby should be here by Easter. Robert says he's hoping for a little cowboy because he says 2 girls are enough for one family anyway and not worth their weight in gold. Man. Curtis married his childhood sweetheart, Amanda Cook, last month, and Effie has a beau. His name is Russell Henry, and he's from Virginia, but is stationed at Fort Robinson, Nebraska. Oh, Mama, this is such a beautiful land, but it's in a state of unrest. The Buffalo Soldiers are everywhere now, and the Sioux, once such a proud people, are reduced to a mere state of sadness and poverty. And my heart just aches for them. The Dawes Act, which was supposed to help them, has turned out to be nothing more than a cunning plan on the government's part to steal more of their land. And this past year has been really hard on them. Summer was extremely hot and dry, which resulted in failed crops. And this winter, the bone-chilling cold and deep snow has killed many of their cattle. Also, their promised winter clothing and other government annuities haven't arrived. Epidemics of measles, whooping cough, and influenza are sweeping across the reservation at an alarming speed. My friend, Lucy Lone Eagle, told me that hunger and disease have killed almost 50 Lakota children a month on the Pine Ridge alone this winter. She was crying when she said, "All our children are dying from the face of the earth, and they might as well all be killed at once." Mama, people in other parts of the world have absolutely no idea what life is like here. All those stories you read in the newspapers, most of them are not even true. Do you know that the Indians have feelings just like we do? And they love their children just like we do. They even cry just like we do. All they want is to be left alone, live their own lives, raise their children, and be happy. Please give my love to Aunt Fanny and hug Daddy for me. Love, Sadie, and family.
Another letter came today. Oh, I am so fearful. It seems like the men's on the prairie might see some action. My darling Mattiel, last week whilst we was patrolling Indian territory, we had to go help 2 miners settle a fight about their claims. One was from Germany and the other was from Ireland. I could hardly understand what they was yelling at each other. We had the hardest time trying to make sense out of what they were saying. They talk so different. We patrol Indian country mostly. We sang songs at night to pass the time. There's this one song we sang, tells the ghost dance story. I know you recognize the tune because we used to dance to it Saturday nights, called the Colored Brigade, written by Stephen Foster. Well, I remember that tune. Let me see if I can put the words to the music. The Redskins left their agency, the soldiers left their post, all on the strength of an Indian tale about the Messiah's ghost. Got up by savage chieftains to lead their tribes astray. But Uncle Sam wouldn't have it so, for he ain't built that way. Well, I certainly wouldn't want to dance to those words. Food here is scarce because of the drought. We get about 3/4 of our rations, and here tell the Indians get less than that. We went to Pine Ridge Agency last week. It was a sorrowful sight to see. I didn't think you could see hunger, but we could see it on the Indians' faces. I met this woman named Kamila. She gave me a basket of bread she could ill afford to give away. She called it gagubu bread, but it looked and tasted just like your pan bread. I tried giving some of it back to her, but her uncle insisted I keep it. Even when they starving, the Indians are so generous. He said buffalo soldiers are not so wise as they stay with their captors. I wonder what he meant by that. There was this Paiute Indian named Wavoka that say ghosts would come back in the spring and bring buffalo and all the other game that the white men's killed off. That was what the Indians want to hear. Now the ghost dance religion is sweeping across the prairie like wildfire. The Sioux are just grasping at straws to get their life like it was. I hopes they settle the Indian question soon. Gotta stop 'cause I hears taps. I remain your loving and faithful servant, Cicero. Well, if those Indians just had Jesus, that would be their salvation.
Way ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey yo. Way ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey yo. Way ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey yo. He honey wash day. Good morning, Chungshi, my daughter. I have some wakalapi here and some coffee. And guess what I'm making? I'm making some buffalo wasna with the meat I got from our relatives up in grandmother's land. I love the taste. I love buffalo meat. I miss it so much. And I really don't like the way the beef meat tastes, especially now since they bring us the meat, the cow already dead, just to stop us from our rituals. The meat is always sometimes really bad. Chukshi, I want to thank you for letting me come stay here. You know, ever since your father died of that blanket disease, I've been so lonely, and I don't like living by myself. And so I thought I would go stay with Lala, but I feel like things have become very dangerous. Why? Because he's letting all of our relatives come on his land and do the spirit dance. I was out there the other day when the Indian agent and the tribal police came, and he told Lala, he said, make those people quit dancing. And Lala said, this is my land, and if they want to dance, I'm not going to stop them. He said he's not sure about the spirit dance, but as long as they give our people hope, then why not? Who's that out there? It's the Yapaha, the town crier. Let me go out and see what he has to say. Chungshi, the Yapaha just told me that Lala was shot and killed by the tribal police. How could they do that when he was only trying to help us? We must leave, Chungshi, before the soldiers and the police come. You know, Lala told me that he had a vision, that he's seen us all lying dead in the snow, killed by soldiers. Even though there's a blizzard coming, we need to leave. We'll go down and meet with Lala Spotted Elk, and we'll go down to Pine Ridge and we'll find safety there.
Stephen, have you noticed how all the news reporters refer to the ghost dance as a warlike ceremony? But it says here that before he was fired, Pine Ridge agent D.H. Gallagher was sure the ghost dance was harmless and would soon die out. He was worried when they cut the Indians' monthly beef issue from 470,000 pounds to 205,000 and said that could cause some problems. You know, he was sure right about that. You know, it has gotten so bad that even Lucy has lost her faith. Yesterday after church, Bishop Hare found her Bible and her prayer book on the rector's table. And this morning, that cousin of hers, Carmilla, something like that, but Lucy said it means butterfly. Anyway, Miss Butterfly came by and said that Lucy has went to join her parents and the other ghost dancers over in the stronghold. I do hope she'll be okay. I don't know what I'm going to do now, though. She's a really good worker. Well, yes, I do remember the Buffalo Soldier, Cicero. He got married, and his wife is coming from Kansas, and she wants work. Well, it sure wouldn't hurt to ask. Do you know what her name is? Maddie Elmira. Oh, what a pretty name. Oh, no. Stephen, it says here that 200 Indians have jumped the reservation and are camped on Battle Creek. They're running off the white rancher stock and committing numerous other crimes. It says that one cowboy was confronted by 20 Winchester armed Indians and forced to give up his saddle horse. No, it doesn't say who it was. Oh dear, but it does go on. Charles L. Hyde from Pierre wrote a letter to the Secretary of Interior, John W. Noble, and said he had reliable information from a young Pine Ridge half-breed attending government school in Pierre that the Sioux are secretly planning an outbreak. Oh, Stephen, do you really think that the Indians are going to go to war again? Oh, I hope not either. But you know, I guess a body couldn't really blame them. You know, they have been dealt a great injustice. Did you know that Sitting Bull was actually killed by two of his own people? Bullhead and Red Tomahawk. Oh, Stephen, I love this land, but I am so afraid. Oh, I would not exchange my old home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play. I wonder what Dr. Brewster Higley would have to say now.
The work's all caught up, Miss Sadie.
Oh, good. Well, you know, it sure is cold in here.
Well, I'll throw another log on the fire.
How about making it two, you know?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, and is that bread I smell? It sure smells good.
Well, thank you, Miss Sadie. I got another letter from Cicero.
Oh, I'd love to hear it if you care to share.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Dear Elmira, no time to write a longer letter. Just wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas. The 9th is going on patrol. Then after that, we are on our way to Wounded Knee. It is dreadfully cold. The mercury hovers below 0, but the blowing wind chills us to the bone. Private Charlie Creek said you ate out in the cold like a dog. not in a tent because the Indians gonna sneak up on you. It was so cold, the spit freeze when it leave your mouth. How are things with Miss Babcock and her brood? Give my regards to Mr. and Mrs. Babcock, and thanks for letting you work in the roadhouse. Keep warm. Lovingly, Cicero. I hope he is well.
I hope so too, Maddie.
The last couple of weeks have been so difficult. We fled from our reservation, fearing for our lives. We came down to Cheyenne River and met up with Lala Spotted Elk. He said we could go with him down to Wounded Knee, that we would find safety there. It was so cold and we were so hungry. And when we got to the Badlands, all of a sudden we were surrounded by these soldiers. And some people say they were the same soldiers from the Battle of Greasy Grass. They walked among us, asking us if we were Sitting Bull people. We kept silent. And we got down to Wounded Knee, and we set up camp. The soldiers came through and took all of our weapons. And I was just thinking, how are we going to hunt now? I haven't even had a chance to mourn for Lala Sitting Bull, and now Lala Spotted Elk is sick. So I took a walk around to see if I can find some kind of plants or herbs. And when I noticed that there was a wagon being pulled into the soldiers' camp, so I walked closer and I noticed that the wagon was full of crates of chicken, all plucked and ready to cook. And I was just thinking about how the smell of cooking chicken was going to only increase our hunger. And then I noticed that the soldiers who was unloading the crates of chicken were pulling bottles out of the chicken, bottles of fire water, and they were drinking. I went back to the camp and I told Chung-Shi, we need to leave, the soldiers are drinking. And we made the decision to leave in the morning, but it was too late. I heard the soldiers getting louder and louder, and they were coming closer to closer. The soldiers, they were tearing up everything, smashing everything in the camp. They said they were looking for weapons. And then I heard shots, and we started running. So many of us died by bullets and cannon shells. And they hunted us as we fled, and that went on for hours, but I survived. The soldiers, they killed my Chung-Shi. They killed her husband. They killed my Takosha. And they shot me in the leg. I am all alone. Everybody I love is gone. I'm Umshika. Lila Umshika.
Oh no. Oh dear. Maddie, have you read this paper yet?
No, ma'am, I have not.
It says that over 300 men, women, and children are dead or wounded, all killed at Wounded Knee Creek in what it calls a battle. But if what it says here is true, it was a massacre, just a cold-blooded massacre. It says the bodies of dead women and children were found as far as 3 miles away from the smoldering shambles of the Sioux campground. It says soldiers stripped the Indian corpses of their shirts and dresses to keep as souvenirs and left the bodies lying naked in the snow. Oh no, one Indian was even scalped. Oh Maddie, how could they? Oh, here is a quote from our righteous Colonel Forsyth. Now we have avenged Custer's death. But Philip Wells said that the 7th started the fireworks that day at the Little Bighorn and had every opportunity to fight for its life. But these poor Indians never had a chance. Oh, dear Lord in heaven, have mercy on us all.
So all have done their share, you see, whether it was thick or thin, and all help break the ghost dance up and drive the hostiles in. The settlers in that region now breathe with better grace. They only ask and pray to God to make John hold his base.
My dearest, I always had my hunches, but today I found it true. The only reason we go under Wounded Knee is so the 7th Cavalry could have revenge for the Little Bighorn. 4 troops of the 9th Cavalry finally left Pine Ridge Agency on March 24th. Our poet and songwriter, Sergeant William Prather, wrote this poem about our stay at the agency. The rest have gone home, and to meet the blizzard's wintry blast, the 9th, the willing 9th, is camped here till the last. We were the first to come, we'll be the last to leave. Why are we compelled to stay? Why this reward receive? In warm barracks, our recent comrades take their ease while we po devils and the Sioux are left to freeze and cuss our luck and wait till someone pulls the string and start short bull with another ghost dance in the spring. We was just as ready to leave as the Indians was for us to go. The Indians complained that some colored troops came to their camp, so they are objecting to our color and prefer the whites. This shows what civilization is doing. At long last, with this furlough, we'll be together forever. I'll be in Rapid City, and God willing, on April 5th. I remain faithfully and lovingly yours, Cicero. This is a bittersweet time. My love and I can finally be together. But at what cost?
Our people were killed because we wanted to maintain our culture and live on the land with the Buffalo Nation.
My people came here to build a new life and found a community. In doing so, we hurt your people and your family. And for this, we are sorry, and we beg for your forgiveness.
Midako Yasin.
Buffalo soldiers, proud and strong. Buffalo soldiers, we meant no wrong. Buffalo soldiers, now come in peace. Buffalo soldiers, ask your release.
Midako Yasin. We will now honor the 4 directions, send out a prayer of healing, and sing the pipe song. I honor the North. I honor the East. I honor the South. I honor the West.
Oyate wa mayankapo. Oyate wa mayankapo. Lecha nupa kile wakanyelo. Oyate yanikilo.
I bless and honor my sister Sadie.
We are all related.
Midako Yasin. I bless and honor my sister Maddie.
We are all related.
Midako Yasin. I bless myself and I send blessings and healing out to all our brothers and sisters. And I send prayers out to everyone. Midako Yasin.
We are all related.
We are all related.
We are all related. People look at me. People look at me. The pipe is sacred. The people shall live.
You put me in your boarding school, make me learn your white man rule. Be a fool. Oh, 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 oh. You put me in Chicago one cold December day. Relocation, extermination. Oh, 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 oh. You make me leave my home, my friend. Think I'll go back there again. Wounded knee, I wanna be free. Oh, 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 oh. For the lies that were spoken, for the blood we have spilled, for the treaties that were broken, for the leaders you have still. Custer died for your sin. Custer died for your sin. Now a new day must begin. Custer died for your sin. For the tribes you terminated. For the myth you keep alive. For the land you confiscated. For our freedom you deprived. Custer died for your sin. Custer died for your sin. Now a new day must begin. Custer died for your sin. Custer died for your sin. Custer died for your sin. Now a new day must begin. Custer died for your sin. For the truth that you pollute. For the life that you have cost. For the good you prostitute. And for all that we have lost. Custer died for your sin. Custer died for your sin. Now a new day must begin. Custer died for your sin.
Welcome back, and thank you for viewing our special presentation here tonight. I have gathered a few questions in our chat box, and I will like to let you guys know while our panelists and everybody comes on, please do just send your questions into the chat box. I will gather those up and distribute them amongst the panelists here tonight. It's important for me to continue to communicate too how important this is to recognize South Dakota Humanities Council. Just so you all know, we will email to you an audience evaluation form. We ask that you please fill that out. If you had come to our theater and we'd had a program here a year ago, this would be common practice for us to pass around some questionnaires and some reactions to the program itself. It's one of the things the Humanities Council wants to find out about. They want to know, how good did we do? What did you like? What more would you want from this? We will also post a poll down below here and ask some questions about whether we should bring more educational programming to you in light of what seems to be a really amazing amount of attention and attendance here tonight. And we anticipate the video on demand will be shared. So just a few housekeeping things as we move forward here. To our panelists tonight, I mean, I guess I'm not sure if I should call one of you out ahead of the other, and so maybe someone just kind of raise their hand between Angie, Malcolm, and Donovan. I would like your reflections on the importance of tonight's program here tonight and what you hope all of our community members take from this program. I think Angie's kind of come up first, so I will let her begin.
No problem. I've presented this program quite a few times down here on the Pine Ridge Reservation, simply because I believe it is so important for people to look at this event in history from many perspectives. I believe that it causes them to think about it from a different perspective, and to be able to formulate some new thoughts and new ideas for themselves. For my own people, I think it's important because we need a place to begin the healing. A lot of times we don't know that we need the healing. We're not, we know that there are things that are happening in our lives and we're not sure where they come from or why they're there. But every single time I have watched this program, it has brought me to tears, because it evokes in me that sense of pain and sorrow that my people felt. And I feel it even now, even after I've seen this program many, many times. I think that in order to heal, we have to know we've been hurt. And but it's not just our hurt as a Lakota people, but the hurt of the nation who participated in this event, because history dictates to people all the time what they should be doing. And sometimes we forget that we have a choice and we don't have to participate. And so I think it helps people to understand that these things happen, and the Black soldiers who were Buffalo soldiers were participated in killing the natives. The cavalry themselves participated in doing this without thought to that they were actually killing a people, a culture, a society. And I don't think they thought about how it would make us feel or what would happen to us, but I think in hindsight for them, they really need to understand that maybe they carry forward some sense of guilt or even pain from participating in that sort of a historical element. So yeah, I think it's really important that we continue to present this program, not only just because it's a really great program, but it allows people to feel something, and that feeling needs to be examined.
Thank you, Angie. I have a question I think I'm going to push towards Donovan, and maybe still yet yourself too, Angie, but one of the viewers asked, how are the descendants of those killed in the massacre coming together and heal, and how are we healing and educating the white people in our communities? I think Donovan might be our panelist I would like on now.
Okay, well, one thing that I had text up there was that the annual Wounded Knee ride takes place every December on horseback. Starts out at Standing Rock in North Dakota, comes down into Cheyenne River and retraces the trail that was taken and done. Finally commences down at Wounded Knee at Pine Ridge, and it doesn't matter what kind of weather it is. It could be 20 below zero, or it could be 30 degrees above, and they endure this, and it gives them a lot of pride, thinking about our ancestors. There's a lot of leadership and history along the way, and the younger ones learn this and learn the history and the stories. And then on the other side, I think it's a difficult history, and it's a hard history because of the things that happen. And so I found as a university instructor that a lot of my students did not know very much about the Wounded Knee Massacre, and probably half of them, despite being from South Dakota or in Rapid City, had never been to Wounded Knee, to the actual site. And so I think the program with with the three different cultures is really good because it shows how three different groups can come together and start with dialogue. That's the key right there, the start. And I always liked Blackwell's quote. I mean, when all this happened, he said, the hoop of the nation was broken at Wounded Knee when this happened. Our hoop has been broken. That's everything. That's our circle. That's our bravery, generosity, respect, wisdom, our whole life. But it can be mended. Every hoop can be mended. And that's what the hoop dancer represents, is our wheels, the circle, everything, hoops are spinning. And when something is broken, yes, there's problems, but it can be mended. And you mend that by looking at those areas: bravery, generosity, respect, wisdom, and that's where we're at today. I would say we're still in the healing and mending part of that.
Thank you, Donovan. One of the things that was gathered in the creation of this video was the idea that we had to recognize the difficult history. And that's hard because it's challenging and it's horrible. But for us to heal, we have to recognize what actually happened. And so I know that that's a real theme for the conversation here tonight.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's our history, it's our community history, it's also our state history, it's a national history.
Malcolm, would you like to lean in on the opportunity to discuss this program here tonight? And again, I think, to Donovan's words and what Angie has shared, we're having a discussion. We're confronting the history, and now we're talking about it.
Well, thanks, Troy. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you to the Dakota Daughters, Lillian, Geraldine, and Joyce, South Dakota Humanities Council, the Journey Museum, Troy, you and your team, and Anna Marie Thatcher. I think, and all of the folks that touch this program, and then in particular to our audience as well, for being willing to lean in and engage in a conversation, a dialogue about this. I am touched by this program. I thought it was powerful. I thought it was moving. And I think it's very important that we hear these type of programs and start these type of discussions. To Angela's point, at first there has to be some acknowledgement that there's been a hurt, there's been a wrong that's happened, and then the healing can start. I think it's just so important that we look at these programs from different worldviews, and we create a space that's safe, that people can tell and share their stories. I mean, these are new stories for a lot of people. It's painful. It's painful for me to watch the pictures near the end. That was just painful for me to see and think about what people endured, what happened. And as ugly and as horrific as it is, it's part of our fabric of who we are. And we have to have a conversation about it. We have to have dialogue about it. And then I think we move on. I think it's important what we're doing tonight, conversation, to learn together, to learn new ways to be together, and to grow into something different together. But first, it has to start off with that recognition, acknowledgement, a foundation of factually what has taken place. I will forever be moved by just seeing some of those pictures.
Yeah, thank you, Malcolm. And again, I can't thank the Dakota Daughters, Anna Maria, Alyssa, for the care and crafting that went into tonight's program and presentation. You've created something that's enduring, and accompanied with the learning guides, we can continue to get better. And that's what this is about. And along that line, I have a question for Joyce.
Wait, may I make one other comment before?
Yes, you sure can.
To the question about the descendants, and South Dakota Magazine in November and December of 2015, dedicated almost the entire issue to Wounded Knee. And there's a wonderful article in here, Living with a Massacre, which is about the descendants of Wounded Knee, the survivors and the descendants of Wounded Knee. It's just a powerful, if you can get that, I would recommend that you get it and read that magazine. And it talks and it interviews different descendants from Wounded Knee.
Thank you, Malcolm. Joyce, we have a question here because you're one of the originals, so the Dakota Daughters, and you've been presenting this program since 2005. Can you comment on, has our community, are we getting better? Are we starting to heal? As a presenter and performer, I'm imagining you've seen all kinds of audience receptions here. We sure hope we're getting better, but I'd like to hear your perspective. You might be on. Oh, there you are. I can hear you now.
I saw that I was on mute for a second. I want to thank everyone for everything that they did. I could have never imagined what we just saw just now. And in response to your question, I have seen progress. And with a lot of the programs that we have done, I've seen a lot of people gain insights and hopefully change how they believe. I also have seen a lot of regression and hope that we keep making steps forward instead of backwards. So I'm just thinking that with this program, we may be able to open up some eyes and some hearts so that people can see from different perspectives of what other people have endured and in some cases are enduring.
Thank you, Joyce. While I have you as the main picture, I have a question, and I think best answered by yourself, but maybe Lil and Jerry will jump in on this. But I have a question from a viewer saying, what drove the desire to tell the story through the lens of the team? You're the fabric of how you brought your team, the three women's separate lives overlapping so organically and coming together the way they did is such an effective and original vantage point for this historicized event. What sparked the idea of the new perspectives? So that, I guess, to the Dakota Daughters team.
You could talk first, Lil.
Well, you know, when I was growing up in school and everything, whenever I heard anything about specifically the massacre, it was always called a battle. It wasn't called a massacre. And then when I was in college, I studied history. In fact, I minored in history and especially in American history and Native American history, and came to realize that when I was in grade school, I really hadn't been taught the true truth of it and stuff. And what gave me a desire to really do this is because I believe that people should we need to know our history. People should know our history for one reason, so it won't repeat itself. And I think
what was the question, Troy?
The question revolves around the idea of women telling the story, three very different, separate women, but you guys are connected organically through the program as it evolves and laid out. And so the question from our viewer was simple. What what created that perspective? How did that come about?
Well, Joyce said it was Lila's idea. And when I first seen it, I went to the Journey to see it incidentally. And I was with another friend of mine, and I was like the only Indian in there. And I was like, oh my God. But Kibby was Indian too, but she's real light skinned. But anyway, afterwards, this older white lady got up and said, I didn't even know it was like that. And so that made me cry and then the whole thing is I didn't really know very much about Wounded Knee either. And so I thought that to me, that was a first point in healing, is because of this, what older lady said that, because I always felt like every white person just hated Indians. But, so that's, after that, I start promoting it until they asked me to join. I go, what? And then I decided to join. But I think it's really good on a woman's perspective, because they don't talk about what women talk about, like giving birth and stuff like that.
Jerry, Lil, and Joyce, thank you. You're wearing your hearts on your sleeves. Your passion for this is incredible. Thank you for putting your trust in us and working with the Journey and putting all of this together. To our panelists, I've got a couple separate comments. So guests who've been posing these understand that I'm kind of combining some themes together, but this is in regards to the Medals of Honor, which, is a tough part of history too. And posed is it possible that the recension, if we were to receive those Medals of Honor, would that help our healing processes? So to the panelists, and I'll let whoever would like to go first there jump in.
Is that me? Is that everybody?
I'll let you go, Angie. You have the floor.
Okay. I thought about that quite a few times myself, and it's kind of like, oh, I don't know. I know that we have lots of soldiers in our, especially from Vietnam, right, who were awarded different kind of medals, but many of them talk about the horrendous things that happened in Vietnam, what they were caused, what they had to do while they're in war and in battle. And how many of those men came back so traumatized that they have a hard time functioning in the world because they felt as if they did some things that weren't humane, that were just, something that eats at them. In the cavalry, I don't know that these men felt that same kind of a guilt or that same kind of a problem. So we're talking about different eras and different sort of perspectives in society that took place at those different times in our history. So as far as I'm concerned, these men, from what I know of the history that my sister tells me, Jerry happens to be my sister, by the way, from what she tells me about it, is they very deliberately became intoxicated, and then out of that intoxication acted in a horrible way. Whether that was condoned by people, and maybe they're giving them the medals as like patting them on the back for getting drunk and killing off a bunch of people. I don't know. I'm just, from my perspective as a Lakota woman and these people being my relatives, I feel that sort of tension that says, you know what? They really don't deserve a pat on the back or to be awarded. But how many times throughout history of the world have people been in these situations where they've done the same sort of thing and been given pats on the back and kudos and for that sort of a behavior? So I think it's a question that we need to look at as far as how does it help the people to heal? I don't think it helps one way or another. It's just like trying to get people to understand and respect us is really difficult, because I think there's still a little bit of that, or a lot of that sense that we just don't deserve to live that sort of genocidal kind of situation where they think we're better off being dead. And we've heard the things like kill the Indian, save the man, which don't help much either. But this is the reality of our history, and how we react and respond to that is just like it's like constantly opening up a wound and irritating it for us. Maybe they don't see it that way, but for us, we feel that way. So that's why I said every time I see this program, I'm brought to tears because I think of that trauma and the pain and the loss. But I have to move on. I have to live in this world. So a lot of times I will just take those feelings and set them aside because I have to be on a balanced situation in order just to survive in this world, taking care of my family and helping my people and whatever it is that I need to do. So, people are asking if that's going to be something that will help us heal. Well, not me in particular, but maybe other individuals of my people. And you have to remember that too. We are all individuals. So some people might think, right, give up that medal. Other people like myself, it's not going to make any difference to me one way or another because I don't think it's going to make me heal, especially when I'm still discovering ways and events and situations that have caused this trauma to my people. And it's not just this one thing. There are many situations like Wounded Knee that affect our people. So I don't know, maybe it's a question that is still unfolding and we're seeking, because we're healing all the time. I mean, Donovan talked about that Wounded Knee ride. Every year, everybody is impacted by that ride. Now, even more so because of Facebook media, things like that we are more impacted by it because people are always relating to us what's happening on the ride, where they're at a given day, what the weather is, all of that. So it's like we're on the ride too, but we remember why we're on that ride and what happens at the end. And we honor our relatives and we pray for our healing. But the historical element extends so far generationally, it's going to take a long time before we finally get to a point where we feel like we're healed. Maybe we'll die before that'll happen. So, that's kind of my opinion, my feeling. I don't know if that answers their questions or not.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you for sharing. That's what's important here tonight is to have the dialogue on this. Donovan or Malcolm as our other panelists, would either of you want to lean in on that?
I would just say that as that I've had family that perished there and also some that survived, and it's kind of like Angie said, it's a matter of individual preference on the medals. I think the majority, I think everybody I've talked to, did not approve of the medals and and everything, but as far as them rescinded and brought back in that, there are things that I think are even above that. A really great thing that happened was, and I remember when all this happened was when Lost Bird, the baby, came back, and from the West Coast and returned. One of the surviving babies that was in the massacre miraculously survived, came back, and they had, the first real ceremony, because there was no ceremony done. It was just a mass grave, and so that's all part of that unhealing. And even that, when Lost Bird came back, she's laying just to the side of the mass grave, and here was a ceremony, and they thought, wow, that needed to happen, that some type of closure, and just the idea that everybody was lumped in, just tossed in, like the pictures showed. Traeger was the photographer that came down from Shadron and took a lot of those pictures, and just, some of the most horrible pictures you could imagine, and I didn't even put any of those in any of my photo books. It's like that would have made our people cry, again, to see that. But it's all part of putting things in place and connecting things the best you can. Connecting with that circle, with that hoop, mending little by little, it all helps.
Thank you, Donovan. Thank you for your thoughts.
Troy, just, I don't think I'm qualified to answer the question, should the medals be rescinded, or how people can heal. I'm not qualified to answer that question. But from a process standpoint, I would say that I'm thankful, again, tonight for at least starting to have a conversation in a respectful, authentic manner. That's just so important. And we can't have these sorts of questions about how someone heals or what should happen next. Something that I always say in training is that not about me without me. We can't have these discussions without the people at the table, in the circle, having these conversations. It's not a question for me to answer about how someone else can heal. But I'm glad that the question is asked, and I think you bring people together to be able to answer that question, and I'm not qualified to.
Thank you, Malcolm. Anna Marie Thatcher, I know you have a comment that you'd like to share, and so I'm going to turn the screen over to you. You're up.
As Jerry goes and said.
Just a couple of things in response to what Angie said, that yes, we dig into a real can of worms because with the medal issue, because we have the same situation in Vietnam with drugs and what happened in Vietnam with some of the slaughters that actually some of my personal friends experienced. And so it's a very difficult situation in question. The second thing that I wanted to bring up is that there's a psychologist, his name is Francis Weller, and he wrote a book called The Wild Edge of Sorrow. And basically in the book, what he talks about is that we have lost, and particularly in this last year during COVID, we've lost the rituals that we've had from the past to grieve. And of course, we felt that more personally, I think, in the last year. But his idea in his book is that we have not had a chance to collectively grieve. And I remember after seeing Tuckaway, which was the exhibit that Craig Howe did through Cairns on the Wounded Knee massacre, of going out of the gallery and feeling like I wanted to be with somebody. It was just an overwhelming sense of grief that I felt. And I don't know what could be done. I don't know how it would be done. I think the memorial ride certainly is probably one way. But we've, and particularly around here, we've never really had a chance as Euro Americans, non-native peoples, to grieve with our native brothers and sisters. And I don't know whether part of that feels like that would not be welcome, or I'm not sure, but it's something for us to think about, I think, in terms of process and the community. And particularly, Malcolm, as these challenges come to your office and trying to build those broken relationships, that we need an opportunity to collectively grieve such a big wound. And in the materials, I included the words to the song Wounded Knee by Redbone. And the last word of the last line of that song is that we were all wounded by Wounded Knee, in the same way that we were all wounded by slavery, in the same way that we are all wounded by so many of the horrific things that happen in our communities, and with violence in particular, that it may happen to a certain person or a certain group of people, but it affects us all collectively. The other thing that I included in the materials, and I would encourage people to go back and go through those materials. And I had, as I was writing the director's notes, my own reflections on things. And the first thing that I noticed was what Donovan mentioned, that, and I use the metaphor of trying to, what does a knee mean in a tributary? And the metaphor is that the knee in a tributary is something that changes the course of that tributary forever. And it occurred to me, and this is what I included in the notes, if people would go back and read them, that this wasn't just any battle. It was the battle that represented the genocide, the attempted genocide of the Lakota people. It wasn't just it was the determining event, as you said, that broke the hoop. And that struck me in a way this morning, thinking about those things that hadn't struck me before. And the other thing is, I did some research on dialogue, and I included that also in my notes. And the thing that struck me about dialogue, one of the definitions of dialogue from someone that I posted in those notes, is that dialogue is a conversation without sides. And one of the definitions talks about dialogue being something that moves through us in a way that it creates another whole relationship. And so with those kinds of guiding principles, I don't know if there's a way to go forward with further conversations, for instance, through Malcolm's office, through things that Angie's doing or Geraldine's doing or Donovan's doing, or the Journey's doing, but to getting down to the idea that we have to look each other in the eye, one-to-one. And that was Mother Teresa's comment that, don't worry about the numbers. We can't change our history. The only thing we can change is our own personal response and our own personal actions. And the last thing that I got to in the notes too was my appreciation of Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement that Jewish people celebrate once a year. And it is actually the holiest day of the year for them. And it occurred to me that we have not, as a nation, atoned for this in any way. And that we probably never will as a nation. And the only way we can do it is person to person. And so those are the kinds of opportunities that we've got to create, is to do some personal atonement on a level where it's not a group necessarily, maybe but it's one-to-one. I mean, for instance, my relationships with my Native friends started out as one-to-one, which is how most of our friendships and relationships start. And so I think we need to facilitate more of those opportunities to move forward.
Anna Marie, thank you. I'm not sure everybody saw, but while you were talking, Donovan shared some sentiments that dialogue is sharing and people sharing stories. Those are important things. And for those of you out there watching the program, we've got a poll out there asking if you want more cultural history programs like this. So you please lean in on that. And I know Donovan posted some conversations, perhaps to myself, about preceding events to the massacre, and that being the ghost dance and Sitting Bull being killed. And we were fortunate enough once to have Donovan present about the ghost dance here. But our job's never done. So I have a question here that's come in from the audience, and I think it's a very pertinent one. And it is framed this way, and I think I'll lean to our panelists, but it is, what is the single most important thing to do as an individual community member going forward and collaboratively. So if you're watching this program tonight, what should we do? Malcolm, I see you coming on screen, so I'll tee to you.
I'm going to answer the question, but may I read something first?
Absolutely.
This is from Isabel Wilkerson's book, Cast. And I'm just going to read a passage from her book called Cast. She's likening these building of broken relationships to living in an old house. And she says, we in the developed world are like homeowners who inherited a house on a piece of land that is beautiful on the outside, but whose soil is unstable loam and rock, heaving and contracting over generations, cracks patched, but the deeper ruptures waved away for decades, centuries even. Many people might rightly say, I had nothing to do with how all of this started. I had nothing to do with the sins of the past. My ancestors never attacked indigenous people, never owned slaves. And yes, not one of us was here when this house was built. Our immediate ancestors may have had nothing to do with it, but here we are, the current occupants of a property with cracks and bold walls and fissures built into the foundation. We are the heirs to whatever is right or wrong with it. We did not erect the uneven pillars or joists, but they are ours to deal with now, and any further deterioration is in fact on our hands. That's from Isabel Wilkerson's book, Cast. I'll answer your question now. I think what we need to do, what Anna Marie said, is to create space, first of all, an environment where all people feel safe that they can show up and be authentic, share their stories. And I think that's the start of what we can do moving forward, to then have conversations where we listen to people without judgment, where we listen to people with curiosity, that we listen to people to learn. And when I speak from my intentions, I speak from my truth. I think that's what we can do. The Menalusahano Kolo Kichiape ambassadors is driven by this simple acronym of BEAM, B-E-A-M. And I would challenge all of us on the panel that are here tonight, that are out watching and participating in this program. What that stands for is that the B is for bridging cultures. The E is for educating ourselves and others. The A is for advocacy. And the M is for modeling the behavior that you'd like for others to display. I am constantly challenging myself on a day-to-day basis to just think about, Malcolm, how do you beam? How do I build bridges to other folks? How do I educate myself and learn more? How do I educate others? How do I advocate when I know something is wrong and I should stand up and say something about it when it's wrong? And how do I advocate for things that are right? And then how do I show up and model respectful, loving behavior that I want you to exhibit to me? So if there's one single thing that I would think that we could do, create that environment where people get to show up and be themselves and tell their stories, and then beam.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Folks, man, I'm impressed with our audience tonight. We are over 2 hours committed to this programming here. So I'm going to kind of let you know that it was sort of a last call for questions. And panelists, if there's something that you would like to share, prepare yourself so that I can call on you. I do want to remind everybody viewing here tonight that you can get educational materials at journeymuseum.org. You can download materials that will help in these discussions. And Malcolm, I think how we all beam is important here tonight. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, I'd like to say something.
Jerry,
I just would like to,
I
was going to say that Donovan was my teacher at OLC, and I learned so much from him, and I really appreciate that. And he took me out to Fort Robinson. I mean, everywhere he took us to as students, we all cried, you know, and
I'm proud of you.
It was just like the way when he got through, like talking about when Crazy Horse got killed or Wounded Knee, he took us. I learned so much from Donovan, and I really appreciate that. And I just wanted to tell you that, Donovan. I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Sister.
I'm grateful though that I would never, so much as if it wasn't for you as my teacher. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. I'd like to say something. I always like to have my students know their history of what happened as even like a descendant of from the massacre. I know my history of all that, and then say like, okay, then how do you feel about that? Okay, well, one thing I feel very good, and it gives me power and strength to know my history because that's what's in my heart, and that's what gives me energy and strength to be strong and go forward. And so when these things come up in life that pull on you here and there, and you're just walking through there, you have this information and this knowledge, and despite I might read something all about Wounded Knee in the book, and I knew that wasn't right all since I was little. I knew there was another side, another truth that I heard right from my own relatives who came back. They barely survived Takini, the ones who survived. And but I think that really gives you some strength and energy. I told a little bit of that one time I was speaking at the South Dakota Penitentiary, and all these Native inmates just surrounded me, and they were just connected. They said, well, that's what I want to know. I want to know who my family is and what happened and all those. And that's what gives you power and strength. And for me, it gives me a lot of hope and for the future, and to share that with others, the next generation, then I'll see that they have that and they carry on. Thank you.
Thank you, Donovan. And for those of you who are sending in supportive comments to the panelists, thank you. I'm reading them. They're heartwarming. All I can say is thank you. Angie or Malcolm, anything that you would like to say as we start to wrap this up?
I would just like to say thank you to my fellow panelists, because each one of us has a different kind of insight, and yet somewhere along the line you find something that really rings true. And Malcolm spoke about this beam, and I really like that. I think it's a powerful way to look at life. And when he was saying it, it reminded me of the fact that my people we're a culture, yes we are, but because of the way we've had to live and what we've had to overcome, we're bicultural. And we have to live in the world and learn how to be among people that are outside of our culture. And then we have to turn back and be who we are in our culture. And so we've learned how to try to be patient and understanding with people who are outside of our culture, so we can help them understand who we are, the reality of who we are, and hoping they find us to be likable people and enjoy who we are in our own environment, in our own ways. And I have found many times that there are some people who just aren't able to do that at all, that they don't understand us, they don't get us, and so they have a tendency to be kind of to develop animosity because they don't want to share our ideas or understand it. So I think it's really important that we always continue to model that by our own behavior, which is not always easy. The other things, I really appreciate Donovan Sprague and the fact that my sister learned well from him. We all have to learn from other people how to be in the world. And when we find somebody that gives us back our identity and affirms it, somebody like what Donovan Sprague is doing for us, I think that's wonderful. But we can do that for each other. We can affirm each other all the time, allowing them to be unique individuals and appreciating them for their differences. So thank you for this opportunity to share in this presentation in such a powerful public way.
Thank you, Angie, for being here and being a part of this discussion. You've contributed immensely.
Troy,
Malcolm, I
I
think
would
it's your
add,
turn.
First and foremost, I think I'm thankful for the Dakota Daughters for creating a piece of artwork that we can sit in the center, that we all can learn and have dialogue and share and understand and hopefully start to heal and grieve and all of those things. So I really appreciate the Dakota Daughters for doing that. And then I'm thankful for the journey. I said this at the beginning because I think it's so important that we create the space where these things can authentically happen. So I'm honored to be a part of this panel. As I always do when I come together with other people, I learn. I'm a sponge. I heard things and stories tonight that I didn't know, and I'm not ashamed to say that I didn't know something, but I'm learning. I want to connect with the panelists outside of this. I want to start a conversation. So I'm just thankful and honored to be asked to be here, and we are learning new ways, as Anna Marie said, collectively to be together. And that's important. That's important because everybody here is important. So thank you for having me play a part in it.
Thank you, Malcolm, for being a part of this. And for all of you who are watching tonight, again, this is being recorded, and we really want to enthusiastically say, share this. Share this with your families. Share this with the people you know. Let's create more dialogue. We're all agreed that dialogue is what's going to actually bring us forward inch by inch in our community. And so we can all do this in a different way in 2021, like we couldn't have done back in 2019, all the way back in the olden days. Anna Marie Thatcher, I know you want to speak, so you are next up.
It's just a note that if people want to save the chat, there's a button at the bottom right that you can save the chat for yourself.
Anything else that you'd like to share, Anna Marie?
No, except what a wonderful opportunity this was for me that was totally unexpected. I've known Joyce for many years. She came to Graham and me when she first started on this and on these endeavors. Gosh, it's been 23 years ago. And she worked with us on a program called the Women Lawyers Club. And then my friend Julie Stahl, who has been working also with the Dakota Daughters, kind of nudged me to become involved in this too. So this was a great blessing to me to be involved in this project that was totally unexpected over the last few months. And I really appreciate the opportunity to have been a part of it. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Anna Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Troy, I have one request.
You can have more than one, Malcolm.
Just one. Can the journey, can you save the chat on behalf of all of us? Can you do that? I was looking down here for the button, but I didn't want everyone to sign off before I got a chance to save it. So I would just request that the journey save the chat.
Alyssa says yes, because I have been struggling to keep up with the comments that are coming in, because when I keep refreshing, then I lose them and then I open up the screen. So thank you, Alyssa. That's valuable.
The other comment that I have is that I don't know if people would know this, but we have some people here online tonight that are from all over the country. I know that there's somebody here from California and somebody here from Nevada. So we have people from all over the country tonight, not just here. So what a great opportunity to reach out from South Dakota.
We've got an Arkansas shout out too.
That's Amber.
I think it's great. It's great.
Well, yeah, here's the silver lining in all of the experiences of COVID-19 is now we're not all having to sit in a theater here in Rapid City, South Dakota, but we're touching each other from all kinds of communities and in all kinds of ways. And I'm going to keep borrowing from Donovan's words and saying we're creating dialogue and we're sharing. And I think that is what we need, is to create that dialogue and the sharing. Joyce Jefferson, is there any final parting words as one of the originals of the Dakota Daughters? And again, kudos to you for all your years of dedication to this.
Thank you very much, Troy. I could not have done it without my cohorts, could not have done it without Lila Pengrove, because she taught me so much about multiculturalism. And there was one thing I wanted to tell everyone, is that in the Senate and in the House of Representatives, they have the Remove the Stain Act, which is specifically geared towards the Wounded Knee Massacre, for all of the medals of honor to be removed. It came from the House of Representatives in 2019, and the Senate joined them in 2020. However, they have not made very much progress, but it is on the books.
In the meantime, we got a shout out from Portland, Oregon. And a great comment I want to share with all of you is the program and discussion was informative, insightful. Interracial discussion and collective understanding is overdue and timely. Thank you all. We thank our viewers for those comments. Joyce, I hope I didn't cut you off. If there's anything else you'd want to add, I cede the floor back to you.
No, that's quite all right. It's all good. And this was a dream beyond what I had ever could have imagined. So thank you all. Thank you all.
This is an example of us just keeping to try to find a way to do something. And I thank the Dakota Daughters, Anna Marie, of course, South Dakota Humanities Council really enabled a lot of this, because when this grant was written, it was a fairly dark period of time. We didn't know when will COVID-19 ever start to recede. We're a whole lot more optimistic today than we were in 2019, and thank goodness as a community. And hopefully we can take the positive optimism of some of that and the positive conversations that we're creating here today to build an even better tomorrow. That's what this is all about. Let's build a community that's better than it was yesterday for tomorrow. Okay. Lil, I didn't mean to leave you out. If there's anything that you'd like to add, I think you would be our final panelist. And again, amazing durability by our attendees, though we've lost a few. Lil, is there anything that you'd like to share?
I'm just grateful to have this opportunity to do this. And like Joyce said, I couldn't have done it without her and Jerry. And then thank you, Troy, for allowing us to do this in the museum, and Anna Marie for all her hard work, and the girls who filmed it. Sorry, I don't remember names sometimes, but I'm just grateful for this opportunity, and thank you, everybody.
Well, again, thank you for everybody and the amount of expertise, the folks that are here tonight as panelists, the Dakota Daughters. I know there's a few directors online here from the Journeys board, and we've had the opportunity to bring a lot of new directors on today onto our team. And we talked about our mission and our vision, and this is us living up to our vision, and that is we're showing history as it was, but we're finding a way to create new knowledge today by being honest about the history and by having conversations. We're inspiring all ages, we're working together, and we're creating new knowledge. So I thank all of you for helping us do that and help us be a good community servant. The Journey's not going to hesitate to try to be a positive role model for our community. So thank you all. I think we're going to sign off now. 2 hours, 20 minutes. I appreciate everybody. So due to all of your efforts, the journey will continue. Thank you all.
Save the chat where it says to all past panels and attendees. Right off to the right, there's 3 little buttons. If you push those 3 little buttons, you can save the chat.
There you go. Thank you, Angie.
You're welcome. I was looking for it too. I couldn't find it. So. Eureka.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Oksake.
Oksake.